Beloved Bala sir, respected dignitaries, directors on and off the dais, faculty members and student managers, a very good afternoon to one and all present here. And my heartfelt welcome to Mr. Prakash Lakhiani. He is an Associate Director HR at CBRE. Sir is an Axelrod Jamshedpur prodigy with PGCHRM and a Wellinker wizard with MBA in HR. Mr. Prakash has donned many caps before being Associate Director for HR at CBRE. A phenomenal onset of his career began with JP Morgan as HR Executive in March 2002, before moving to Bank of America in November 2005 as Senior HR Executive. Mr. Prakash was also the manager for HR resources for Steve & Barris for a brief period of 14 months before having a transition to Regus in July 2008 as head HR. The metamorphosis transpired when Mr. Prakash joined CBRE as General Manager HR in December 2011 and then shifted to the Associate Director HR at CBRE. He is an oracle with his business acumen in the field of human resources. Mr. Prakash is a certified train-the-trainer by Avature and also certified trainer by PwC. In the quest of learning and being an evolutionary leader, Mr. Prakash has been honored by Honors Award for Q3 as well as Chairman's Award for HR, Leadership Excellence category. He is also awarded by APAC, my HR PeopleSoft project, and has also been credited with Leadership Award in support function. It is an honor to have you, sir, among us. Now I would like to invite sir to open the court of knowledge and shower his words. The dice is all yours, sir. Thank you.
I was just sharing with sir that it gets very embarrassing to hear so many things about you. So, very, very humbled, and thank the entire management team of Balaji Society for hosting me over here. And thank you guys for making time and, coming to listen to a lot of us. I'm sure it has been 2 days, and am I audible? Yeah, am I? Okay, I'll put it up so that I don't really have to struggle more. So, guys, it has been a long journey as such in HR. The only reason why I'm here today is to share a little bit of my experience with you guys. Is it audible? Okay. And I made a small PPT which would give you a better look at the future of human resources. So when I say human resources, it does not mean that it would be only for HR guys, the ones who are in marketing, the ones who are in finance. All of y'all would probably, I'm hoping that y'all would take away something from this presentation when I share as to how we look at each of you, whoever would be joining whichever organization, to be a part of any culture, and how human resources professionals are going to transform that in future, right? But before I get to the PPT, a little bit about the organization that I come from. I unfortunately couldn't play the video which I have for CBRE. It was just a 3-minute video, not even more than that. But nevertheless, we'll do with PPT. With the show of hands, how many of you guys are pursuing your major in HR? Oh my God, that's too many of you. Nice. So about back in 2002, I was sitting right there, and like that gentleman, I was also amongst the backbenchers with no interest in why am I made to sit over here. But hopefully, by the end of this particular presentation, no issues, guys. Just relax, no problem. I understand it's after lunch and you guys must be feeling very, very lazy and sleepy as well. But before I get there, what do you all expect? Why did you all, there is one question that I ask everyone as to why did you all even take HR as masters or pursue your MBA in HR? I wouldn't look for answers at this point in time, But in case your personality does not match or does not fit into HR as a culture, it wouldn't make sense for you to pursue that forward either, right? So having said that, I'll go ahead with the presentation. Is it visible? Yes, I can see it is. All right, looking at the future of HR. So how's HR changing? How can HR respond to the challenges? What is the HR operating model of the future? How will HR impact the leadership role? And how do we get there? Okay, so I'm going to, in between, throw a few questions to you guys. And, whoever wants to answer is welcome to do so. So what's happening? There are people who have traditionalist, baby boomer, Generation X, millennials, and Generation 2020, right? So traditionalist, what does it mean? Any of you guys would know? Believe me, I've kept my presentation as short as possible, so I wouldn't take too much of your time. But anyways, getting back to the subject, traditionalist. Anyone, guys? No? Okay. So there were traditional ways of managing human resources, right? How do we get to the next generation altogether and target, because there is all kind of workforce which would be required. The demographics, the changing scenario, unless we attract and retain the right talent, like everybody in our organization, we would not be ending up having the right kind of talent to run the organization. CBRE as an organization, the only asset we have is people. Just to share my journey, when I joined CBRE in Fortune 500 list, we were ranking 487. And today we are ranking 207 in Fortune 500 list. Okay? That's kudos to CBRE. And again, when I joined CBRE, we were just 1,200 employees, and today we are 8,300 employees on CBRE payrolls. So that's been a long, long journey, guys. And we have year on year, I was sharing with your management team, year on year we hire more than 90 and 93 people is what we hired last year from campuses, be it any campus. And some of your alumni were also part of our permanent hiring, apart from internship as well. So we look forward, even this year, to have a lot of you, to be a part of that particular campus journey that we would have. We would definitely be visiting your college and hiring a lot of you, right? And obviously, we'll cover all the details in terms of compensation, etc., when we get there. But today, I'm not here to speak about the campus recruitments. I'm here to talk about how HR looks like in future. Just to put it in simple words, that's how we would like to put it. Basically, I wouldn't get into details, but like I said earlier, unless we attract and retain the right talent, we wouldn't get from all generations. Not only the experienced people, it is the fresh minds which come on board, with you coming on board as well. Okay, guys? So what is important? A couple of them just disappeared from the screen. And what is important is Generation X, Millennials, and Generation 2020, right? And that's what we are focusing upon. If you look at average age ratio in CBRE, it is 35 and below would be 70% of our staff. 70% of our staff is below the age of 35, okay? And the rest 30% would fall under the bracket of 35 to maximum 47, right? Our chairman himself is at the age of 47 himself, right? So that's the kind of audience, or that's the kind of employees that we look at. And as future, this is how it would transform. So how would the workforce agility look like, right? Anybody understands what the agility word would mean? Anyone, guys? Anybody can be given a mic. Couldn't hear you guys. Can someone hand over a mic, please? Okay.
Sir, agility means how quickly
Your name, please.
Sir, this is Ayushi.
Hi, Ayushi.
Agility means how quickly you respond to situation.
Okay. And anything else? Okay. Good, you're right. How quickly we respond to a particular situation, right? So workforce, how would we look at a future workforce in India? Across the industries, across the organizations, how would we look at workforce going forward, right? That's something that we need to focus upon. There are practices which are becoming more agile, and I'll speak about that in our future slides as well, in terms of work timings, in terms of work from home, in terms of how our offices look like, what are the kind of environment and culture that we provide to all our, employees in office space. That is more important. If we do not give you the right environment, I don't think you all would be able to deliver up to the right, levels. What is important? As it says, time, right? Location, role, and source. What do I mean by time? Is it important for everybody to come to office at 9:30 and leave by 6? Absolutely not, right? Because if you are in a business line, I can understand if you're working for an IT company doing coding, decoding, even that can be done from probably a home environment as well, right? But in a job like, in an industry like real estate, you are expected to be there, out there in the market. So it is not required that you should start at 9:30 and end at 6. You should be responsible. I think that's the right word. You should be responsible for what you have been given for. So at the end of the year, you would be not weighed, or the weightage would not be given how many days did you come to office from 9:30 to 6. It is rather how much did you deliver at the end of the year. It doesn't matter if you come at 11 and leave at 8. Yes, there is certain amount of compliances which is important, but time is not a factor as we move along. Okay. Secondly, location, work location. I already spoke about it. It is not important that you come to office every day. Your offices could be a Starbucks, it could be a CCD, it could be any environment that you like to be into, as long as you all are delivering, okay, and reporting back the right things, correct? That's the workflows agility, and that's the kind of flexibility we want to give in future. In terms of roles, a lot of you ask me a lot of questions when I visit campus in terms of what would be our exact role. हम लोग क्या करेंगे every day? क्या 9:30 to 6 ये JD तो बहुत अच्छा है, पर 9:30 to 6 में क्या करूँगा, right? Across, you need to understand, with changing times, what HR looks like in a future is that you all would not have set or allotted jobs, right? It would change as we move along, right? You could be doing a lot of activities. An HR person cannot just focus just on talent acquisition or HR business partnering anymore. You have to be flexible to run across the segments and do a lot of other works as well. And that's how your learning expands. So role would change. You would be doing a lot of, there would be a lot of handshakes. You would be working in a lot of departments. And that's how you'll get more and more exposure. And source. It's not necessary. Today, if we talk about how do we recruit, we think about, HR guy thinks about a Naukri.com, a LinkedIn, right? Maximum coming to a campus, going to a recruitment partner. But in future, if you talk about 4 years prior, did we think that we would be recruiting from LinkedIn? The answer is absolutely not. And in future, do we recruit from Glassdoor? Probably yes, right? So that's how the future would be changing, the roles would be changing as well. I already spoke about time, location, role, source. So, mobile technology, ecosystem, I wouldn't get into this, but I'm sure all of you, have a mobile phone. Everybody likes to be on WhatsApp or Facebook. Tomorrow, the technology from an HR point of view has become an integral part of our systems as well. So in CBRE, our attendance happens on the mobile. Your reporting happens on the mobile, right? You can do your performance appraisal on the mobile as well, right? So technology is coming in and intervening and taking over a lot of work which can be done by individuals. But does that mean an individual would be replaced? The answer is no. There would be people who would be running those technologies as well, right? Data and technology advances enable HR to define and bespoke processes, right? For its customers at efficient costs. That's how it ideally works. I'm sure everybody understands the cloud technology and so on. So, the data or the future study says by 2020 there would be 37 billion intelligent things which will be connected to internet. There is a lot of work which is done manually today that would be on technology going forward. How can HR, tomorrow a lot of you would join corporates and be HR professionals. How can HR respond to this particular challenge or change, rather? That's something that we need to look at. What work has been done, higher value services, where work gets done, how geographically, mobile we are, that is something that matters the most as well, correct? Whom to work with, reshaped the support structure, the entire support or the value system. How many of you understand AVP, Employer Value System, or an Employee Value System? Or a proposition, rather. AVP? Any of you guys? So all the organization, just to brief you, are adapting AVP, Employee Value Proposition, which would enable an organization to see what we have to offer to any employee. And if we do not have a value add from our side, none of you would like to stick around, correct? So that's how the entire thing works. As I promised, I wouldn't spend too much of time on the slides, but I'd like to take you all through a few others and let you all know how we look at HR operating model of the future. So workforce shaping is something that I already spoke about. Workforce experience is already something that shows on the slides as well. And workforce delivery is something which is expected out of you guys, all right? And how do we transition into this is what the future would, tell by 2020 if we have planned this particular activity, how would we get into that particular shape. But what is required as an organization is the change, to adapt that particular change, to adapt the technology as well. Last, or just one more slide after this. Employee experience, in a human capital as a department, in HR, in our department is known as human capital. And it's centered across the work experience of an individual. So if you're joining HR as a department and you become a HR business partner, what you're doing is not just a grievance management, you're giving an experience to an employee as well, right? In order, if you come to CBRE office, guys, we have a new office. There is an auto rickshaw in our office, which is something that is a movable auto rickshaw. A small one, but since our space is so large that you can actually move around that particular small golf cart or auto rickshaw that we have as well. There are, bunk beds, there is bean bags, there are slides, there are a lot of other environment that we provide to an employee so that you enjoy that working environment as well, right? But does that mean you just be there? The answer is no. It is the work environment provided so that you can collaborate and have the right kind of deliveries done. So that's our office, which has 15 food options as well. But that's the work environment I'm talking about. As an organization, the kind of location you are at, the kind of people that you're working with is very, very important. And that's an employee experience. That sums up to an employee experience, correct? Is there any expectation that you might have from an organization from an experience point of view? Individually, you all would be having different employee experiences. Maybe you all did summer internships at certain organizations and you all had an experience. But what is important is the work environment which we provide to you guys. I'll take a pause. If anybody has any questions, I'll take that. I can see a lot of you guys getting, yeah. Yes, please. Hi. Yes.
My question to you here is then, we talk about... So my question to you is that when we talk about delivering the employee experience, so the whole purpose of doing this is to retain the employee in the organization. Now, there are a lot of times what happens here is that different individuals in the organization have different expectations. So, how do you tackle the challenge of meeting everyone's expectations and delivering a good employee experience to everyone? Because everyone is not what they're not expecting the same thing, right? So I think it gets a little difficult there.
Right. Your name again, I'm sorry.
Shamim.
Shamim, it's a very good question. Now, how do we address this? It's a plan. It's a plan that you make a long time, example, a work environment. Like I shared with you, our office was designed keeping in mind certain things. What did we do? We ran a survey amongst all the classes, all that particular set of employees that we have across. And we asked them a question as to, what is it that you want in an office, right? We asked millennials, what is it that you want in an office? And the answer was, we want a beanbag, right? As simple as that, right? We want various food options. We want a Suzette, a brand, a food brand which is there in Mumbai, right? We want that. So we took a survey to make sure that the majority, you can never meet 100%, but majority of the demands as far as our employees is concerned is met up with. Also, you mentioned that, do we do that only to retain our employees? Of course, we do that to retain our employees, but is that the only purpose? The answer is absolutely not. I'm also an employee of the organization. Tomorrow you join, you would also be a part of the organization. So it is my experience as well, right? The kind of work environment I'm giving you allows you to collaborate, and we have studied that if we were in an X office 2 years back, and today we are in a Y office, what is the kind of output we have? So how a changing environment is reflecting in a better work environment and results and delivery as well. So that is very, very important. So that's how we give our employee experience, and employee experience doesn't stop at office experience. It's also how we do our R&Rs, how we do our events, what is organized for the entire year, how is grievance management there, entire experience that we are giving on day-to-day basis to an employee. That is the most important thing as far as future of HR goes. Because our employees are the only assets we have. We don't have a product. So CBRE is, our employees is the only product that we have.
Right. So if I could ask a further question to that.
Sure.
So what happens here now is that the kind of workforce that is sort of assumed to be in the future, it's all moving towards such a hypo sort of a workforce, high potential. So here what happens here is that like we are focusing so much on the kind of performance the employees have and what is the potential that we see in them. So there's so much sort of an aggressive approach to that. And then again, at the same time, you're talking about delivering experience.
Right.
Doesn't it conflict there a little?
It's, again, a good question. The answer is, from a CBRE perspective, I can speak today. I was associated with JP Morgan and Bank of America. Back then, the time was different, and yes, you are right. We are very, very aggressive in the approach. But just to answer your question, the answer is no, we are not aggressive in terms of our ask or a delivery point of view, right? For the first year, you know, even on a GM level or a director level, if somebody joins in, for the first year, if they have not done a single business deal, it's still okay, because CBRE culture says that we have to work in an environment, right, in a team. So if there are 10 people in the team, 2 people didn't do well, and 8 of them, you know, met the entire team's target put together, in that first year, we will let that go, right? And in the second or the third year, if that doesn't come up, you know, we'll then see how to deal with it. So to answer your question, it's not conflicting because we do not have an aggressive work culture. The work culture in CBRE particularly is teamwork. If 4 of you have been able to deliver that particular target, it's still okay. It doesn't matter. You might have a bad year, somebody else might have a bad year and a good year as well. And that's how we approach it. And as an organization, in offices, we have employees deputed at site where we have 18% attrition. But in offices, we just have 4% attrition. And that speaks volumes about the organization as well. I'm talking about CBRE offices alone. But overall, it is 18% because site, we have limited control, right? I know we are deviating a little bit from the subject, from the experience that I'm giving you, but I hope I have been able to answer your question. Yeah, okay. Thank you, guys. One last slide before I move to, you know, I'm not getting into details because I can see that you're, you know, not enjoying it too much. So I will go ahead and go to the future model of HR, or how HR should look like, okay? The ones who are doing HR particularly, you know, and the ones who are not doing HR should know about this before this guy falls, okay? And, you know, today, if you look at any org structure of HR, what it looks like is talent acquisition, HR business partnering, comp and men, you know, labor compliance, HR operations, right? But in future, how it would change is something that I would like to show it to you all. Would I be able to elaborate this screen as well?
It's already elaborated in both sides.
Right, I have to see as well. Okay, not a problem. It's okay. So workforce, you know, what would be there, as I said in my previous slides as well. I don't know whether you can see it on the screen, but I'll just look at it from this side. A workforce experience, you know, how would the workforce be shaping, and workforce delivery. This is how the entire HR organization would be shaped up, right? The entire focus would be on an change management, how we do in future, right? And that's how our org structure would look like in 2019 as well, in terms of HR. In CBRE, that's how we are going to go about it, correct? So we'll have 3 departments: workforce experience, workforce shaping, and workforce delivery. And the HR guys would be focusing upon these 3 verticals as well. So like I said, current knowledge work value distribution is there is a leader and there are people who are there, right? So business partnering, process excellence, and transaction compliance. Tomorrow, technology would take over, and as you can see, a lot of process execution and transaction compliances would be done by technology itself. And employees would just focus upon business partnering and process excellence. And obviously, leaders would play their roles wherever they are. So, these are few of my slides. I don't know if too many of you were able to relate to it or not. But before I conclude, just to make it a little more interesting, and whenever you go to a college, I'll share a little bit of a story with you, just to possibly share as to what to expect in an organization, right? So, how many, let me, whoever is kind of taking a nap, let me awake those guys and urge you to tell me how many of you guys have seen this movie Swades? Everyone? Okay. So how, there is a management lesson that I learned. Sorry, I just dropped something. Okay. So there is a management lesson, and hopefully everybody would, I share this with, all the colleges that I go to. And the lesson was, there is a particular scene. How many of you guys have seen this? The lead actor in that movie comes to this panchayat and would ask for a space for land to build a school. Anyone? Yeah? Hands. Thoda sa ut jao yaar. Okay. So, what would happen in that particular scene is that, they would ask him as to, वो सब छोड़ो, land का तो यार primary school है, why do you need a secondary school or a college? It's okay. Tell me, why do you need, what do you do? First tell us that. So the lead actor in that particular movie would say, I work for NASA. And in Hindi he says, वो ब्रह्मांड के चक्कर लगा के बताते हैं कि, कब बारिश पड़ेगी, कब क्या होगा, right? I'm going to speak a little bit in Hindi so that you guys can possibly, relate to it a little more. So in that case, they don't understand anything and they give him a look stating that, kya bol rahe ho? Even the other lady who's there, Daima, she even tries. But he's not able to communicate as to what he does. So what they do, say that, अरे ये तो हमारा भोला भी कर लेता है, correct? And they call Bhola and they would ask him, Bhola looks into the sky and says, 2 दिन तक बारिश नहीं आने वाली है, आसमान साफ है. Then they ask this particular lead actor, right, as to, ये करते हो आप? Without investing any time, he says, exactly, यही करता हूँ मैं, right? अभी आप ये बताइए, आप मुझे ये स्कूल की लाइन देंगे या नहीं? So where am I getting at? I can see a lot of people like Shah Rukh Khan, isn't it? Particularly women, is it? Okay. So what am I trying to say? Anyone? What is the learning? Couple of learning. Do not understand what you do, right, in future. You will always probably be a bhola for them, right? Even if you're working in a NASA. It doesn't matter. Not everybody would understand what you do. But what is important is you continue keeping your focus towards your desired goals. Point number 1. Point number 2, always respect and remember the fact that those are the 5 people who have built that particular gaon, who have built that particular company, who have built that particular organization. Never ever get that out of your mind, or so your seniors who are there might not be able to value or respect what you do on day-to-day basis, but it should not deter you from delivering what you are expected to deliver. And tomorrow you will be right up there, right? And what is important, like I said again, that those guys are the ones who have built that particular organization that you worked with or you would be working with in future. So always remember that that's the kind of culture of that particular space, and you need to fit in to that particular culture so that you can be successful, right? So always respect that other side, and don't invest too much of your time in explaining or understanding or expecting what others think you do, right? On that note, I'd like to thank you guys for spending some time to listen to me, and even though it was not so exciting, but next time I'll try harder. If I come here, obviously you wouldn't be the audience, but I'd try harder to, to get your attention. Thank you so much, guys, for your time, and I open the questions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Now the house is open for question and answer.
Sir, here in the center. Sir, I have a question. Recently, after the Supreme Court verdict that just came out regarding the Aadhaar card, and especially in HR sector, the cost of hiring any individual is incremented from maybe rupees 50 to 300 because of they are going to they have to go to the orthodox level of the way that how the HR people used to hire. And so how the company is going to take all these things, because obviously it will increment their cost of hiring, and after the government are just ready to pass an ordinance regarding this situation in order to become a very amicable for the companies to to just increment help the HR guys to just hire. So how is your take on this?
Okay, I'll repeat your question so that I can make sure I understood it properly. What you are asking is, after Aadhaar card got mandatory,
Yes.
there is a cost of 50 to 300,
Yes,
as you have quoted,
Incremented.
is the kind of increment which is there in the cost,
Yes.
and how companies are adapting that particular practice. Is that your question?
Yes, sir.
Or,
Yes, sir.
okay. So, see, there is no organization view on this, but I can share my personal view, right? I think, Aadhaar card makes it more systematic. Even yesterday's verdict of Supreme Court, the day before yesterday or yesterday, I'm not too sure. Yesterday itself, right? So, even that particular verdict is very, very clear that organizations, as far as Aadhaar card is concerned, it's just a tool to make sure that we have the right kind of people, right kind of systems. Organizations, just to answer your question, we have a thorough system of background verification. And background verification is a part of making sure that we are getting in the right guys. So each and every employee that comes in, we take their Aadhaar card, PAN card, and make sure that that is connected with obviously your financials, even your PF system and so on. Cost implication, I don't know about small time firms, but 50 to 300 rupees implication to MNC like CBRE, I'll be honest, it's not too much of a implication as such. But I do respect the fact that government has introduced this. And I think we have a lot to gain out of the Aadhaar card technology as well, because it does automate a lot of things as well. So like I said in my presentation, it's moving towards technology and linking your Aadhaar card with whatever technology we have as well. I know I've not been able to answer that very clearly, but I think that's where it is at this point in time. Any other questions,
Yes,
guys?
sir. Hello, sir.
Hi.
So my name is Shambhavi, PM in HR
Hi,
Junior.
Shambhavi.
Sir, the question which I have is, sir, we all are aware of the employee engagement, and most of the companies, be it IT, mostly IT, what they are following, they are doing work at home culture. They are following, and also an off to Saturday, weekend off. So, sir, how the employees are getting wayward, they are getting perverted, they are deviating from the actual work. Working at home and working in the organization are two different things. So, sir, how an organization make them engaged properly to succeed, and is it augmenting the productivity of the organization?
Correct. So, very, very good question. I'm glad you asked
Thanks
this
a lot.
question, dear. So, as far as when we were implementing, you'll be glad to know that we have Saturdays off. We have never worked on Saturdays, and fortunately, I've worked with all the organizations which never had a Saturday working. So, been slightly lucky in that sense. Even CBRE does have Saturdays off. When we were implementing work from home, forget every other leader. Me as a leader for Talent Acquisition India, I head Talent Acquisition India from an India perspective for CBRE. And I have about 40 members reporting into me. I was wondering as to how would they do recruitment from home here? As to कैसे होगा? घर पे थोड़ी ना candidate को बुलाएंगे, right? So, but it's a policy, okay? It's a policy which is implemented, and it has its limitations, point number one, right? You can't be working from home all 365 days and not coming to work at all. So there is a limited hours that you have to fill in, particularly like you mentioned in IT organization. I think it gets easier in an IT organization, in fact, because there your job is to, I'm just giving you an example, is to code or decode and make sure that there is a delivery. So if you're given a particular job, whether you spend 8 hours in the office or 8 hours at home, it doesn't matter, right? What matters is, have you delivered at that particular job at the end of the 8 hours? In fact, companies have to gain out of this. And how's that? Because once you come to work, right, you occupy a desk. I know I'm getting very chindi out here, but you occupy a desk, you occupy a work environment, there is electricity, there is phones, etc. When you're working at home, you're occupying your own ecosystem for that, correct? So as far as this particular thing is concerned, it's a thing of the future, and that's what I was speaking about in my slides as well. We as an organization, we as CBRE have adapted change. We give you, work from home. Obviously, there are policies, there are limitations, and does that impact the productivity? The answer is absolutely not, because we believe in the maturity of an employee to use that work from home in a proper manner. And our policies make sure that you guys use that in a particular manner, right? Even if you are trying to misuse that particular policy, we will make sure that it's not misused either. So there are checks and balances which are put at every stage by every organization, whoever gives work from home, and we make sure that the output is there. So we are not allowing any wrong use of that.
So one more, it is in addition to that. So is it possible, or is it applicable to HRs also, because HR needs to connect to people. So working at home, how they'll connect to other employees and all?
Right. So I, at the cost of repeating myself, we are not 365 days work from home. There would be, in a month, you would be allowed, for example, 4 days work from home as an environment, right? In that day, there are policies which would govern. So if there are 40 members, there could be only 4 members on work from home those days. There would be others. So it's like taking a leave. When you're taking a leave, sick leave, there are others to address it as well. So, like I said, the policy is designed in the manner so that there is no work impact in that sense, right? So we make sure that there is no negative impact of that.
Excellent.
Hi.
So my question is related to employee experience, because you spoke about employee experience, and also the last speaker which we had spoke about how organizations are shifting their focus from employee engagement towards creating an total employee experience. But then my question is, the span of time an employee spends in an organization is reducing day by day or year by year, because earlier they were like spending a decade in an organization, but now it's been limited to 2 or 3 years maximum. So the employee experience has to be very quick. Otherwise, there's this word called word of mouth which comes when an employee leaves an organization.
Sure.
So it must be a challenge for an organization to create a quick experience for an employee.
Right. So, like I keep saying, and I always tell my team, change with changing times or you disappear, right? Yeah. And like you mentioned, that particular employee experience has to develop as well. What was an employee experience was, back in 2011, we used to do birthday cake cuttings, and Diwali celebration and Independence Day and so on. Is that an employee experience today? Half of the employees, even if we are doing a cake cutting ceremony, would not even land up in the cafeteria to do that, right? Even the ones who are having their birthdays would not possibly come in, right? So I'm just saying that we need to change with changing times and adapt the new technology, correct? And it's going to be imperative. I can assure you that. It would be imperative for the organizations from any genre or any industry to adapt technology. So technology is the answer number one. Answer number two is talent management, okay? Employee experience is connected to talent management. Talent management does not mean only the ones who are coming on board externally. So if I've spent 7 years in the organization, for an example, what next is what talent management means. So I am a talent. How I get to the next level? What is organization planned for me to get from X level to a Y level? How would I make that journey? What is the learning experience for me? Would be the answer to your questions. So one, technology has to intervene, has to step in. Two, talent management has to come into play. And yes, it has to be very, very quick. If we keep using the old methods, we will, again, we'll lose importance over a period of time. Okay. So hopefully I've answered you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
So recently, while surfing on LinkedIn, I came across an article which talked about companies spying on their recruits. Mostly
spying, you mentioned.
Yeah. Spying, like what kind of activities they do socially and on social media and in their private life. Till what extent this is true, and like what kind of parameters you look after if your company does it.
Okay. So spying is a very, very strong word. I don't know how to relate to that. I don't know in my experience. I'm here to speak about my experience. I'm not aware of organizations or us doing any spying on employees or anything of that sort. Yes, like I mentioned earlier, taking feedback is very, very important. And, we have something called Your Pulse or Your Voice survey, which we run every 3 months to make sure that what are the changes. So all 8,000 employees are encouraged by the entire management team and the chairman to share their feedback as to how we should improve or what we should do to get on to the next level, right? So we do not get into, obviously there are lots of other avenues. How many of you guys looked up CBRE on Glassdoor? Anyone? Ek, do, teen? Acha. So you must have seen the kind of, the genuine ratings that we enjoy, on Glassdoor employee experience as well. In CBRE, the entire management team is more than 17 years with the organization. And we are a 22-year-old company in CBRE India. And not even one of our, out of 5 managing directors, not even one is less than 17 years of experience, right? Even our receptionist in Mumbai office, the front office, lady, she has been with the organization for 12 years. I've been with the organization for 7 years, right? So we do not have the culture of looking into the past or spying on any of our employees. But yes, we make sure that what is happening in the external world, and if there is any negative feedback which is given, which we take, accept, and try to convert that into a positive experience for our employees. And for, even if you haven't, I'll share one data with you, which I'm very, very proud of. The guys who interview with us, last year we recruited 3,300 people on CBRE payrolls, and we interviewed 24,000 employees for that, okay? We ran a survey in which out of 24,000, there were about 8,300 employees, candidates, sorry, who replied to our survey about their talent acquisition experience. That means the ones who got rejected and did not get selected with CBRE, they responded about what was their experience from a candidate standpoint, right? And this survey was run amongst all countries of CBRE, APAC, global, every country it was run, right? What was the outcome was that we got 87% satisfaction in that particular survey. So I'm not particularly boasting about it or blowing a trumpet, but it doesn't matter whether you work with CBRE or not. Even the interview experience with the recruiter, with that particular individual that you interacted with, and how you respond to an absolutely independent survey is a result of what we give as an experience, not only to an employee, but to a candidate as well, right? So these are a few things, but we don't really go beyond looking at these factors which I've mentioned. So I personally don't feel it is true, right?
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Good afternoon. I'm Shivani Wagh from PMNSA Senior Batch. Sir, as you mentioned that you are focusing rather than individual work proficiency than the teamwork. So, as you mentioned that in the team of 10 members, if 8 are working and 2 are not, so for the 1 year period, or you can take actions after the 2-3 years. So, it's a very long duration. So, does those who are working, 8 people, those who are working good, does it not affect their efficiency?
Correct.
As you are not taking action against those who are not working?
Correct.
So, how are you dealing with those situations?
Okay. So just a bit of correction, छोटा सा correction है, not working, delivering.
Yeah, sorry.
दो अलग words.
Yes.
Right? So again, your name again?
Shivani Wagh.
Hi, Shivani. So Shivani, what happens is, see, a lot of us, all of us are here, right? In this particular ORI, there would be at least 100 people, I'm assuming,
Yes.
right? Everybody who tries very, very hard to get through a particular campus, say any particular, firm comes in, organization comes in, not all of you would get through, right?
Yes.
But did you all give it your best shot? The answer is absolutely yes, correct?
Yes.
Did you all get the desired result? Probably no, right? So what I meant earlier was not to say that there is no work being done by those 2 individuals, for an example. All of them would be doing that amount of effort, but it is teamwork in the end of the day, right? Have you heard of Gallup? Anybody who has heard of
Yes.
Gallup? Correct?
Yes.
How many of you have taken that? I have a strong belief in Gallup. What is my strength? Can be utilized. It can be just a part of a team, right? But I can be weak at multiple things. Do you know what I'm weak at? When the Gallup study comes in, I'm weak at public speaking. But here I am trying very hard to
Yes.
speak with you guys, right? So that's an area you work upon. And that's what you learn, right? So every time you do not do a particular deal, or a year you do not do a deal, that's a particular year. There is a learning opportunity for you to take forward to the next year and do better.
Yes.
The intent should be there, and it would not work as a demotivation for the ones who have been able to crack a deal, right? So it is just the result. Result is not that important. The effort has to be constant is what we believe in as a culture. So I hope I've answered.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Right?
Thank you.
Thanks.